Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Donal here, and we are at the face of a brand new year, and to celebrate we are taking a look back in this video at the top 5 most popular recipes here on this YouTube channel. There's a whole host of different delicious dishes that you guys have watched in your hordes, so big thank you for, as usual, tuning into the channel, hitting the subscribe button, leaving comments. It all really helps, so I just want to say a huge thank you for all the support we've had this year. But now, without further ado, there are 5 gorgeous recipes for you to check out. I hope you enjoy, and let me know in the comments which one was your favorite. Until then, Happy New Year, and I'll see you soon. Bye. This recipe is one that you're definitely going to want to add to your weeknight repertoire. It is super simple. There's only a handful of ingredients, and best of all, it uses some of the most gorgeous tomatoes to make a really rich tomato sauce in brown butter, served up with fettuccine, a shaving of pecorino cheese over the top. This is my brown butter tomato sauce that is going to be one you want to make again and again. So it starts off by getting our pasta into a nice big pot of water. You want to make sure that you heavily season it. It does look like a lot of salt, but it really is going to add great flavor into your pasta. Straight into our pot. We're going to give that a quick stir and let that come back up to temperature and boil away. This is going to take about 8 minutes, just until we have a bit of bite in there. It's al dente. And while it cooks off, my favorite thing about pasta recipes is that you can make the sauce in the same time it takes to cook the pasta. So I did mention that this sauce's deliciousness comes from browned butter. And if you have never used a recipe that has brown butter in it, it gives you this sort of nutty, caramelized, gorgeous quality to any sauce that you add it to. So to this pan, we're gonna get straight in there with some butter. And you're gonna cook that out just until it starts turning. Normally you'll see it coming to a nice foaming bubble. You wanna take it further, and once you've taken it further, you're gonna get all that nutty flavor, which is gonna infuse into our gorgeous tomatoes. Now for our tomatoes, you can see I have some cherry tomatoes here. There's some really interesting shapes here and colors, and that really does make a difference to the end product. So I'm gonna keep a lot of these whole, but I am gonna slice 1 or 2 of them in half just to get the sauce started. And the true beauty of this sauce is that as the tomatoes cook down in the pan, they're essentially gonna release their juices and create the most gorgeous, sweet and luscious pasta sauce. Right, our butter is at that nutty brown stage, and right at this point you're going to get straight in there with the tomatoes and you're going to bring this sauce to life. It's that nuttiness, it's the sweetness, it's the tomatoes all reducing down in that gorgeous flavor. So get them straight in there, as well as those whole ones. We're also going to get in there with a wooden spoon and give this all a good stir. And at this point now, you're going to let those tomatoes cook out in the butter. We're going to season it up with a bit of salt and pepper. And what you're looking for here is those tomatoes to reduce down and to have really no bite to them. You want to make sure that they're nice and tender to wrap around the beautiful pasta. Right, this is what I'm talking about. You've got really beautiful tomatoes. You can see the ones that I've halved have actually kind of created a sauce and broken down quicker than the whole ones, and I quite like that because you've got different textures going on in here. Just before it finishes cooking out, I've got some garlic going in, a little bit of minced garlic, and just to kind of bring out some of the aromatics, a little bit of fresh thyme just in and around the pan. Give it all a good stir, and this is pretty much good to go at this point. Once that garlic cooks out, which literally takes a few seconds, you have the most rich and nutty and sweet tomato sauce that looks absolutely gorgeous, and the smell of the garlic wafting into the kitchen right now is phenomenal. So, a little touch of salt and pepper. So we got our pasta cooked off, our tomato sauce looking pretty epic right now, and it's literally only taken a few minutes. We're going to start transferring that pasta straight in. So I'm actually going to reduce the heat right down here. And you'll notice as I transfer the pasta to the pan, you're getting a little bit of that starchy pasta water, which is going to help give us this luscious sauce that is wrapped around this fettuccine. And then this is where you get your hips involved and you give it a little bit of a shake. This is the kind of dinner I definitely want during my weeknight. So it's looking pretty good right now. You don't want to overcook it, so turn off the heat completely on both of these. We're going to serve it straight up with some pecorino. So you're going to get all that luscious pasta with all the steam going on in here and pile it straight into the center of that pan. Grab a little spoon, and any of those beautiful little whole tomatoes, you want to pop them in there. Remember, that pasta is coated in nutty brown butter. We are in a good place, my friends. So make sure you go heavy on those tomatoes over the top. This is my kind of supper. It literally takes a few minutes. It's minimal effort, maximum flavor. And last little touch, you could go in there with some basil leaves if you wanted. I'm gonna add some pecorino over the top, just little shavings. Pecorino is that sharp, salty sheep's milk cheese, and it's so good to finish a pasta like this. A few little sprigs of basil just over the top. And I mean, come on, that is a plate of pasta to be proud of. We're gonna dig straight in. This is like one of my dream dinners here. That, my friends, is a serious plate of pasta, and one that is gonna get you to weeknight success in only a matter of minutes. It's absolutely gorgeous, full of nutty flavor, sweet tomatoes. Now, as chicken dinners go, this is proper comfort food. It's only 5 ingredients, and it's beautiful prosciutto wrapped chicken with mozzarella, a little bit of marinara, and some gnocchi. This is comfort food brought to the table in one pan. This is one you need to make. So, we're gonna start off by wrapping our chicken in some prosciutto. I have 2 chicken breasts here. They're kind of small, on the small side, which is good because it's gonna help with the cook time here. I'm gonna grab up a little bit of prosciutto, and basically all you're gonna do is, it's a little bit of make and do, but you're gonna wrap each chicken breast with a little bit of that salty prosciutto. Now that's gonna do 2 things. Number 1, it's gonna give you that salty flavor, but it's also gonna give you the most gorgeous brown color on these chicken breasts as well. Because sometimes chicken breasts, I often think, are a little bit sad. As you well know on this channel, if you watch for a long time, you'll know that I love chicken thighs. So whenever I do this, I do love adding prosciutto to the mix because it just makes things a little bit more interesting. So give the hands a quick wash, and we're gonna get straight into the pan. Okay, our pan is coming up to a very nice hot temperature. I'm gonna get straight in there with a touch of oil. At this point, you're looking for the heat in the pan to brown off our chicken. So you do want it to be at a medium-high heat. And now that we have our beautifully wrapped prosciutto chicken, we can get it straight in the pan. Now, the great thing with all these 5 ingredient recipes is that they're all open to adaptation. So this is a perfect one. My mom used to always make this when we were growing up, where she would split the chicken and stuff it with breadcrumbs and a little bit of pesto, maybe some cheese. But this is all about simplifying our dinners and making life a little bit easier. So we're gonna go straight in there with this prosciutto wrapped chicken. So now, the prosciutto is quite salty, but we're gonna add a little touch of sea salt just to round out the flavor and to make sure it's nicely seasoned. A touch of black pepper in here as well. And now it's just a case of turning these over now that we've got a gorgeous brown color on them. And just look at that. This is why you wrap it in prosciutto. I mean, look at that gorgeous sizzling golden brown color. So now that we've turned them over, it is gonna cook out alongside this sauce with the gnocchi. But while they're frying off on the other side, I'm actually gonna pan fry these store-bought gnocchi straight in the pan. They're gonna get a little bit of texture, a little bit of browning going on, just to make them a little more interesting. So take your time with this, give it a little sizzle, and really at this point now, I'm gonna let it sit. We're gonna let it cook out. We're gonna let the gnocchi take on a little bit of color on the bottom side, and then we're gonna get in with our marinara sauce. Now, let's talk about the marinara sauce. You can get passata, which is basically just a blitzed tomato mixture, and you get that in nice jars. I would use that here, or you could go the extra mile and get the more sort of American-Italian vibe going on with this marinara sauce, which also comes in a jar. It's a little bit of a cheat ingredient, but basically what you get left with is a very quick cooking sauce. So as soon as the gnocchi has a bit of color, we're going straight in there with the marinara. Okay, that is all our marinara sauce in there, and to give it a little bit of help in the pan and just to make sure that it's nice and saucy, we're gonna add a splash of cold water. And then just give it all a little shuffle in the pan just to bring it together and make sure you've got a nice even bit of sauce, the chicken gets coated. And the beautiful thing about this is, at this point, the gnocchi is gonna cook out, the chicken's gonna continue cooking just until it's nice and tender in the inside, and I always love finishing chicken off in the pan like this with a little bit of liquid because it adds to a bit of steam and a bit of texture and a bit of moisture in the pan, which gives you lovely succulent chicken breasts. So this is now looking pretty good. It's had a minute or so just to bubble. It all happens pretty quickly, but we're gonna finish this off quite interestingly, and to give it a little bit more emphasis on making it look spectacular when it comes to the table, I do have a beautiful ball of mozzarella, which I'm just gonna tear into nice little strands and basically push that in and around the pan. And we're not gonna put this under the grill or anything like that. We're gonna stick a lid on top and let it go oozy and moist in that beautiful steam. So pop that in and around, and then lid on. Literally, it's gonna be less than 5 minutes and you'll have oozing cheese, perfectly cooked chicken, and gnocchi ready to go. It's literally had 2 minutes, and have a look at this, because this is where it's at. You have steam erupting from perfectly cooked chicken, tender gnocchi, creamy mozzarella, and this is a one-pan dish that you can serve straight to the table. All I'm gonna do is flick off the heat, grab up some basil, and you just wanna take those fresh little basil leaves. And I know it's a little bit of cheating going on here, but I do have basil in the kitchen. I know these are not part of our 5 ingredients, but I can't help but to add this beautiful aniseed green flavor going on in here. So a few sprinkles of basil leaves, and that, my friends, is a gorgeous dish that you can bring straight to the table. I would literally serve it straight to the table like that and allow people to dig in. Now, let's serve this up and get a taste of what's going on in here. Do come in and have a look, because we have all that glorious cheese. Look at that stringy mozzarella, and don't forget about that beautiful gnocchi, which is cooked out. It's got a little bit of pan frying action, a little bit of browning when it was cooking off alongside the chicken, but then it's completely cooked through once you've added the marinara sauce and a splash of water. And that, my friends, is a winner chicken dinner, because it's only 5 ingredients plus the basil, but it's all brought together in the one pan, and it's spectacular. I mean, it smells wonderful. I want to waft it towards you. I want you to smell it and taste it and try it and all the things. But I'm going to do the honors for you. I'm going to do the hard work. I'm going to tuck into this and see what we're dealing with, because it would be a shame not to. It's just sweet. It's got that salty hit from the prosciutto. You've got the tender gnocchi, and then you get this sort of lovely creaminess from the mozzarella in there that's just gone oozy in the pan with the lid on. I mean, you could put it in the oven and grill it so you get a nice brown on top, but I actually like the fact that it's one pan and it's actually turned the mozzarella into something that's more kind of luscious and luxurious and creamy. Basta Alimony, a fantastic creamy lemon zested pasta dish that takes minutes to make, like all my favorite pasta recipes. And best of all, it's only a few ingredients. We've got some cream, we've got some lemon, we've got some tagliatelle, we've got some butter, parmesan, and a touch of parsley. First thing to get this started is get your pasta in a pot of nicely salted water. And one of the queens of Italian pasta, Marcella Hazan, she basically says that the best thing to do is go heavy on the lemon zest in this recipe, because it gives you lovely fragrance and really brings this dish alive. So while that pasta cooks off, I'm going to bring up the temperature on my pan. I've got some cream that I'm going to add straight in from cold, and we're basically going to bring this up to temperature with the lemon zest to infuse it with all that great flavor. So cream is in, we're going to take up a zester, and we're going to go with all that beautiful fragrance. So I'm gonna go pretty heavy on this actually. I'm gonna go 2 to 3 lemons here. Marcella Hazan uses 4, but I'm gonna go a little bit less because I want that cream to just have a nice, delicate lemon flavor. Okay, this is coming up to temperature pretty quickly, so I'm just gonna stir this through. And you're looking for the cream to kind of reduce by about half, but you'll notice as it does, it starts to take on that lovely lemon zest fragrance. Leave that to come up to temperature. We're gonna grab our tongs and just check on our pasta. It's looking pretty good. And now, while our pasta is nearly there, it's time to get in with our butter. So I'm gonna add a little butter at a time. You've got cold pieces of butter being added to the cream. So basically, as soon as these pieces of butter melt down, you're gonna add a little bit more and a little bit more and keep whisking. So the last little butter going into the sauce here, and you can see we've got a much creamier and thicker and kind of voluptuous looking sauce at this point. So as soon as that is melted down, we are pretty much good to go. Our pasta should be cooked at this point. It all should happen in a nice little flow of motion in the kitchen right now. I'm actually going to drain the pasta straight into the sauce, and if you do need a little bit more of that pasta water, it will help to kind of get the perfect consistency. This is pretty much where you want it to be. It should be kind of almost coating the back of a spoon. If you popped a spoon in and you kind of run a finger through it, it should hold its shape. And it tastes pretty good too. So I'm just going to season it up a tiny touch of salt and the smallest bit of black pepper in there as well. Give that a little whisk. And to this, we want to grate in a hefty amount of Parmesan cheese. So a generous bit of Parmesan cheese. Give that a whisk in and just make sure it nicely melts through. And then essentially you have the most gorgeous, creamy, lemony, cheesy sauce that is ready for our pasta. So grab up your tongs and drain off the majority of the water as you're doing this, because you don't want too much water coming across, but just enough to give you this smooth, creamy, and silky pasta sauce. Grab up your tongs and then just fold that pasta through that creamy sauce. We are in business. I mean, this is where it's at, like perfectly cooked pasta, really gorgeous glossy sauce. And if you feel like it's too thick, by all means, use a little bit of that pasta water and start to loosen it out. But this is good for me, so I'm gonna serve it up straight into a bowl. Take a nice, generous tongs full. This is just proper comfort food, and you kind of have the feeling that it's a little bit fresh, so it's not completely overly indulgent, but I mean, that is a serious plate of creamy pasta. Last little touch of some lemon zest just over the top, nice little curls just to garnish. And then I do feel it does need a little bit of freshness, so I'm going to add a little touch of flat leaf parsley, so just roughly chop that and sprinkle it. You don't have to add the parsley here, but I do like that little hit of freshness. If you want to keep it completely pure, leave the parsley out, it's up to you. Little touch of that over the top. Last little grating of Parmesan cheese. And that for me is one of the most simple and gorgeous little pasta sauces. I'm gonna grab up a fork and do my favorite thing that we do on this channel, which is taste the food. I mean, you're talking about 5 ingredients, a handful of ingredients. Seriously tasty pasta. You got that hit and fragrance of that lemon zest, which is a powerhouse of an ingredient and just makes this entire dish. It is so simple to make, and I know you'll give this one a try. Today we are talking about the mighty smash burger, a famous burger specifically because you get to smash it in the pan. It results in crispy edges, gorgeously tender pieces of meat, and all slapped on top with that good old American cheese, some gherkins, a little bit of iceberg lettuce, and a secret hamburger sauce. So the first job we need to do is get our hands into this meat, and you're gonna basically just roughly push this together. You don't need to go overboard and form these into patties, you just want a big handful of meat. The whole idea is you want it craggy, you want it a bit rough and ready, you want it rustic looking, and if you start making these into like a patty and adding all sorts of other ingredients, you won't get that. So it's all about the meat here. And we're gonna get these straight onto the pan, and at this point, you're gonna grab up the spatula and get smashing. That is literally it. You wanna keep pressing down until you get a nice, even, flat surface. And I'm gonna do exactly the same with the other one. So it kind of goes against any sort of form of burger you might have ever made before, but I quite like it. It's a bit homemade, it's a bit rustic, and there's a reason why people queue around the block to get these beautiful smash burgers. While it's cooking out on this side, the only thing we're gonna add is a generous seasoning of sea salt over the top. Now, with these smash burgers, the idea is to get them a little bit charred, to get them a little bit smoky, and really that's where the flavor comes from. So that's exactly what's happening in the pan right now. So really now, all that's left to do in terms of a job is to just keep your eye on this, and as soon as they're ready to kind of loosen out from the bottom, we're gonna flip them. Now, while they're cooking out, I have a secret hamburger sauce to make up. So to this, we're gonna add a touch of hot sauce, in with some mayo, and this isn't fancy, this is bog standard ketchup and bog standard mayo. But we are going to add a little pinch of minced garlic just to give a little bit of fresh flavor. Give it a mix up, and this little hamburger sauce is going to bring things to life. Now, don't be thrown by any sort of charring here. This is where the flavor is, and remember, you're going to get really gorgeous tender meat on the inside. Flip that over, and now that we've turned it over and we've salted this side as well, I'm just gonna add in our good old American style cheese. This is not fancy stuff, this is hardcore smash burgers, old school style. So we're going in with a little cheese over the top. And my little tip to make sure that you get gloriously melting cheese over the top is to grab up a tiny touch of water. We're gonna add that straight to the pan, and we are lid ready. So pop that right in, and all the steam that's in there is gonna cook our burger out, it's gonna make it nice and tender, and best of all, that cheese is gonna go gooey and melting. So give it a minute or two, and that's pretty much good to go. Yes, this is what we're dealing with. Look at that steam, look at that cheese, it's melted down, and you might have thought I'd flipped them over and burnt the arse out of them, but I promise you, it is worth it because you're gonna get these gorgeous little kind of caramelized bits. You've got melted cheese and you got all that gorgeous burger thing going on. So at this point, these are pretty much good to go. I'm just gonna let them cook out for one more moment now, but I'm gonna turn off the heat. And to our little burger buns, it's imperative that we get in there with our burger sauce. And That little touch of burger sauce is just gonna make so much difference here. So, burger on top. Oh my goodness, I am so excited about eating these. They look fantastic. So, pop that straight on there. And in terms of toppings, you don't need much more than a little bit of gherkin. I know some people hate these, but you can leave them out. Quite like the little pickled element of them. And then a little touch of some iceberg lettuce over the top. I'm gonna go again with more of that hamburger sauce on this side as well, just so that you get a little bit of a moist maker going on. Stick that on top of this one. And I'm sorry, but I am converted to the ways of smash burgers. Give them a little squeeze down and look at all that gorgeous juice that comes out. That for me is like the proper old school burgers, and that's why smash burgers are just so popular right now. They are just a celebration of no fuss burger that delivers on cheesy, beefy glory. So, less talking, more eating. Oh man. I mean, I've made burgers with 15 ingredients in them. I've made burgers with only 3 ingredients in them, but this is the way forward. Hi guys, as you know, I am a huge fan of all things quick chicken dinners. So this one is a honey garlic chicken dinner that is going to be brought to the table, and it all happens in one pan. It gives you crispy chicken, it gives you that lovely soy and garlic and honey situation going on and creating this beautiful sauce. And then I've got some lovely broccoli and a little bit of sugar snap peas to amp up our veggie content. So we're going to start it off in a bowl with 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So we're going to go in straight in. I'm going to eyeball it a little bit. That should do me. For the sweetness that kind of counteracts the acidity, we're going in there with 3 tablespoons of honey and then 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. So the great thing about this recipe is that it's all store-covered ingredients that you just bring together to create a luscious sauce. So 3 tablespoons in here, very memorable as well, because it's 3, 3, and 3. Now for our garlic situation, we have 3 cloves of garlic going in here. So you want to go heavy on the garlic because you want all that flavor in there. I'm just using a little grater to get a nice fine pulp, so I get all the flavor without the texture. Okay, tap off the garlic. Right, we've got this lovely pulp. This is where the flavor of this honey garlic chicken comes alive. This goes straight into our mix, and I'm gonna just add in those little bits as well, because they'll only add to the flavor. Now, we wanna get in here with a tiny little touch of salt and pepper, just to bring out the seasoning, and then get straight in there with a spatula. Now, it might look like this is a hefty, liquidy sauce, but the true trick of this recipe is that we're gonna use that sauce not only to marinate our chicken, but it's also gonna create this lovely sticky sauce that wraps around the chicken and wraps around the sugar snap peas and the broccoli. So give that a nice mix through, and once you've got a nice coating on this, this goes straight into the pan. Right, this is looking good. A little touch of oil into our nice hot pan. Just make sure that this is up to a nice medium-high temperature. This is looking pretty good. And then we're just gonna get our chicken thighs in, skin side down. Instantly, when you add the chicken to the pan, you get hit with that soy, garlic, honey mixture, and it just smells spectacular. Now, normally you would kind of get rid of the marinade here, but I'm gonna use it to create this luscious sauce. So don't throw it away. So straight in the top, all that lovely marinade and that liquid. Right, chicken is cooking away. I've got some baby broccoli and I've got some sugar snap peas. So I'm just gonna give this baby broccoli a little trim up. I kind of like to slice it on the diagonal because it cooks really nicely and you get really great texture in this dish. So just a nice little fine slice. And then I'm gonna do exactly the same with some spring onions. Right, we have chicken in a very good place right now. So I've just turned these over, and to the pan you can see that marinade, that dressing has kind of reduced down slightly. So at this point, while there's still a little bit of liquid in there, I'm going in there with the veggies, and you just want to nestle these in and around the pan. So I've got the broccoli, I've got the spring onions, and I just want to add in some of these sugar snap peas. The beauty of having these veggies like chopped is that they're gonna cook out really quickly. And you can see this is a vibrant dish. You've got lovely tender chicken and you've got all these great veggies too. So
Little bit of sugar snap peas go in. I'm just gonna add a touch of water. This will help steam up the veggies and cook out our chicken, so a little splash in there will go a long way. And last little thing to do is grab up a pan or a pot or a lid or whatever is gonna cover this to allow that steam to completely envelop the chicken and envelop the veggies. And also that little bit of water in there is gonna help bring that sauce together, take up any of the little charred bits at the bottom of the pan and give you lots and lots of flavor. Leave this to cook for about another 4 or 5 minutes, just until the chicken is cooked all the way through. Right, the magic of this recipe is when you finally get to reveal that lid and check out the steam on this. Oh yes, beautiful chicken, tender vegetables, and a little bit of sauce in the bottom. I'm gonna turn the heat off at this point, and you can see just how beautiful that looks. A honey garlic chicken brought straight to the table, and to be honest, like, this is the way I would serve it. I would bring it straight to the table just like this. I'm gonna give it a tiny little touch of sea salt just over the top here. Last little kind of finishing touches. I really think it benefits from the aromatics you get from some coriander, so just a nice little sprinkle of that over the top really makes a difference. I think soy, coriander, garlic, it all works together really well. And then a last little touch just to kind of bring it together and kind of echo the soy sauce flavor is a little bit of some sesame seeds. Just a little sprinkle of that over the top is absolutely gorgeous. And that, my friends, is a one-pan honey and garlic chicken dinner that is to die for. You are definitely going to want to make this one. I'm going to just take up a little bit and serve it out just so I can get a bit of a taste on this. What I love about it is just how easy it comes together. I mean, it's a handful of ingredients. You've still got that lovely sauce in the bottom in there. And let's see how tender that chicken is. Look, I mean, chicken. Oh man. It's just such an easy little method, and it really delivers on the flavor. So I hope you're going to give it a try.